The Puerto Vallarta Airport is not very large and it is easy to navigate. Getting to your destination outside the airport is also easy. The airport is conveniently located just to the north of Puerto Vallarta and just south of Nuevo Vallarta and Bucerias. Once you exit the airplane, you'll have two stops. The first one will be immigration control and the second one will be baggage check. If you weren't given a customs form as you exit the airplane, you can pick one up in the baggage check hall. Well, they also provide pens and desks to fill out the forms. Now, here's your first pro tip. After baggage check, you'll enter the arrivals hall where you'll pass through what I call the gauntlet, which is just a whole bunch of vendors, most of them wanting to sell you timeshares. I highly recommend that you just pass by these guys without speaking to them because they'll only delay your departure from the airport. Just before you enter the main arrivals hall, on your right, you'll find the car rental check-ins. If you have not rented a car and you're looking for public transportation, just proceed through these final set of glass doors, continue to your right. If you want to exit the airport, there's glass doors on your left-hand side and that will take you immediately outside. If you have a hotel shuttle, just go through the glass doors and go to your left. Generally, there's people waiting there with their signs to the hotels. If you want to take a bus, a city bus downtown, also go to your left, and I'll show you how to walk to the bus stop here shortly. If you want to catch a taxi, proceed to the taxi stands, which you can do from the inside the terminal or on the back side of the terminal. Unfortunately, you cannot use Uber or other ride-share programs from the airport grounds. You must leave the airport grounds, and I'll show you how to do that shortly. There's 3 authorized vendors of taxis. They all have pretty much the same prices. If you look below their counters here, it'll show you the prices by zones. If you're going down to Centro or the middle of town, it's either zone 2 or zone 3. I'm going to zone 2, and the cost for transportation from the airport down to zone 2 is approximately 440 pesos as of November the 1st, 2024. Now, these are all set prices. There's nothing to negotiate, and they're relatively fair. If you elected to purchase your taxi pass, then just proceed to your right out the glass doors, and the taxi stand will be on your left. Now for pro tip number 2. If you find the lineup for the taxi kiosk is quite large, you can exit the terminal and immediately turn to your right, and you'll go to the back side of these same stands and you'll find the same kiosk. In most cases, the lines will be quite a bit shorter. Just a reminder, as you exit the terminal, you'll find most of the vendors who are running shuttles to your hotels. So once you obtained your ticket for a taxi, you're going to immediately proceed down this path here to your left, and you will see all the taxis lined up, and there'll be signs that say taxi. Now, there could be 3 different stations here, so you just got to make sure you go to the correct one, and there'll be people out here who will be able to tell you where to stand. Sometimes there can be lineups for the taxi, but in most cases, there's lots of vendors here, lots of taxis, and they go quite quickly. Now, for those of us who do not mind a little bit of walking and would like to save a little bit of money, you must first exit the airport grounds. And you do that by proceeding past the taxi vendors to the end of the airport. At the end of the airport, you'll find the bus stop, and the bus stop is great for those people who have a limited amount of baggage. Sometimes the buses can be quite crowded, so I don't recommend you do that or take a bus with a lot of baggage. It could be a little bit problematic. But if you do want to take the bus, it only costs about 10 pesos to get to Centro or right downtown. And now for pro tip number 3. So if you want to save about half the cost of a taxi, so in my particular case, going to zone 2, which is close to downtown, it was going to cost me 440 pesos. I could probably cut that price in half by proceeding outside the airport, which means I walk around the airport grounds and I pass over top of the highway here to the other side, and I can catch a taxi there. It's only, I would say, somewhere between a 5 and a 10-minute walk, 10-minute walk at most to get over to the other side of the highway, and there's lots of taxis also waiting there. And if you want to call an Uber, once you get across the walkway here, the pedestrian walkway, you can call your Uber from there as well. So the most economical way to get downtown is to take the bus. It costs 10 pesos in 2024 to go downtown, and the bus stop is immediately under this walkway here to my right. And you can see people on my right here that are just standing there waiting for the bus. Now, for those of us who want to catch an Uber or catch a half-price taxi, just proceed up the walkway and across the highway, and you'll see taxi vendors waiting for you there. The good news is it's all a series of ramps. There are no stairs involved, so it is actually quite easy to haul your luggage from one side to the other. And as I said earlier, it really is only about a 10-minute walk, quite easy to do. As I said earlier, Puerto Vallarta Airport is very conveniently located to the city of Puerto Vallarta, or Centro, or downtown. It is only about a 7-8 kilometer drive from the airport, and it only takes about 30 minutes to get downtown. And probably about a similar distance in time if you're going out to Nuevo Vallarta, maybe about 40 minutes if you're going to Bucerias. Now, pro tip number 3. Once you get to the other side of the highway, you're going to find a number of taxis sitting along the road, and you'll find their drivers waiting at the bottom of the stairs, and they'll ask you if you need a ride. What you need to do is negotiate a ride or price with them before you get in the taxi, else you may be in for a surprise. And I generally always try to get the prices from the taxi stands in the airport, and then I divide that in half, and that's approximately what the price should be on this side. And the reason the price should be lower on this particular side of the road is that these guys are not paying the fees that the airport demands them to pay if they were picking up people in the airport. Pro tip number 4, if you're looking for a good lunch, the restaurant Taco de Marlin on the right here is excellent. Highly recommend their burritos. So at the bottom of the ramp, you can negotiate a price with one of the taxi drivers there, or if they're busy, you can actually proceed right over to the taxis themselves, and there's generally a taxi driver there as well, and negotiate a price. Just make sure you get a price before you put your baggage or yourself inside the taxi, or you may end up with a surprise. Some prices can be dramatically higher than you expect if you haven't negotiated beforehand. So we just got our taxi across the pedestrian walkway. It's 250 pesos to essentially Centro in Cinco de Diciembre. And if you were on the inside of the airport, it would have cost you around 500 pesos. So we're saving half the money this way.